A few weeks ago, we had quite an engaging conversation with Dr. Sharon Halliday about destigmatizing mental illness. Today, we are continuing the discussion by highlighting the youth-led regional movement, Let's Unpack It. This organization aims to end stigma, build awareness, and demand action to make mental health a lived reality for Caribbean youth. Joining us for this conversation is David Johnson, the president and founder of Let's Unpack It. David, welcome to Good Morning SKN.
Welcome. Good morning.
Hi, morning.
Happy you could join us this morning.
Yes, our pleasure having you.
David, let's dive right into it. The inspiration. Share with us the inspiration behind the name Let's Unpack It.
Yeah, so Let's Unpack It. That was actually a play on words, really. Everywhere I go, I carry a backpack. So the original name of the Instagram page was DJ and a Backpack. And because we chose the idea, of mental health to focus on, and because we know that there's so much stigma around mental health and wellness, that there is some complexity around the matter, we thought that we should really try to simplify the issue and help it be more relatable. And so the idea is back full of all of these ideas, and we're unpacking that. We're destigmatizing, we're demystifying really mental health and wellness.
David, how did you get involved in mental health? And I see that you launched your organization in January 2020, so we can speak about that as well. And how did the pandemic affect your organization?
Yeah, great question. Well, originally what started the organization was really just the idea to create a safe space for young people to speak up, to discuss and learn more about mental health and mental wellness. The real genesis of the organization was rooted in the fact that I utilized my social media for quite some time to generate, positive conversations. And one day I really posted the question about how do people manage stress? And the responses that I got were quite worrying. Things that relate to the fact that, we still have a society which is really not as empathetic as it really ought to be. The reality that young people really did not have that kind of space, certainly not digitally, to really unpack it, to really open up about what they're dealing with, and really to kind of feel comfortable and free and not judged about what they're being challenged with. Yes. And so what really motivated me to start the organization or start the Instagram page back in January 2020 was to kind of create that kind of safe space for my peers. Of course, that was just about 3 months before COVID descended upon the Caribbean. And what we really saw during that period was that not a lot of attention was given to mental health, to mental wellness. In fact, we could dare say that there was no plan on how to respond to the mental health fallout of an emergency of this scale. And so it was really out of a sense of frustration of, young people really suffering mentally during that period, and governments being very slow to roll out initiatives and programs to help support Caribbean youth, that we said, hey, it's about time that we transition from, just that digital space where we create those positive messages and safe spaces to have the conversations to full-fledged advocacy, where we start holding CARICOM governments especially accountable for the guidance that they've signed on to. I think part of the challenge that we face is that, of course, as small and developing states, we have to deal with the polycrises, right? But the reality is that we elected our governments to govern. And one of the things that is their core responsibility is to protect the rights of the vulnerable. And as young people, we have a right to access the highest quality of mental health and wellness, and whether that is in the form of therapy, in the form of counseling, in the form of having guidance counselors who we can trust at our schools. This is imperative not only in the emergency situation, but in the non-emergent situation. And so that is really the root of our advocacy as an organization.
Nice. I like that.
I like that too. Very well said, David. And I've realized the initiative is not just regional, David. I've realized it's international as well. Can you share with us the partnership with UNICEF? How did that came about?
Yeah, so oddly enough, back in 2022, I was home for a short period of time, and I was invited to participate in a discussion around the idea of building intergenerational solidarity around the concept of mental health and wellness. And we would know that for many young people, they will say, well, we want mental health, we want mental wellness, and we feel as though the barriers that we're facing in terms of stigma falls along generational lines. And so it's really important that we can bridge that gap. And so at one of those panel discussions, I would have had the privilege of representing my organization there. And that really was the start of a relationship with UNICEF. We maintained dialogue since then, and they have really been looking for more ways to engage young people. And of course, mental health and psychosocial support becoming one of those forefront issues, certainly after the pandemic. They saw that we could be that kind of link between their organization and Caribbean youth. And because our interests align, therefore, in terms of having that regional kind of reach, and also realizing that young people need to be at the forefront of the new policies, the new strategies. We like to say that there can be nothing for us without us. And so what we're really doing as an organization is bringing youth voices to the fore. And we're really happy to have the support of UNICEF in that regard.
That's very good. I'm happy that they're supporting your initiative. Let's talk about the countries that will be targeted. What are the names of these countries, I should ask?
Yeah, so there's 17 Caribbean nations that we're targeting. So all of the English-speaking Caribbean. So we have the 12 nations that are represented under UNICEF Eastern Caribbean, which includes Anguilla, Antigua and Barbuda, Barbados, Bahamas, Belize. It includes Guyana, Grenada, Suriname, Jamaica, St. Kitts and Nevis, Trinidad and Tobago, Turks and Caicos, and I must have left off quite a few, but of course, if you do go onto our page and hit the link, you'll find all of those. But really, we're targeting 17 Caribbean nations, including UNICEF ECA, UNICEF Belize, UNICEF Jamaica, UNICEF Guyana, and Suriname. And what we're really hoping is to have a representation from each of these Caribbean nations coming into that cohort of our national mental health focal points network, which we really see as that genuine hub of ideas where young people come, they share, they discuss what exactly are the strategies they want to see rolled out in their communities, in their nations, and actually being the ones who are mobilizing for action, going around and speaking to other young people, getting them engaged. Because the reality is there is power in numbers. And the more young people that rise up, that take action for mental health and for their own mental wellness, there's nothing that Caribbean governments can say against the mass of numbers there. So what we also really want to do through this initiative is to build capacity. We realize that young people have several ideas and you know, they have all really the solutions that they want to see to the challenges, and what they really need is the platform, the resources and the skills to implement. And that's exactly what we are trying to do in partnership with UNICEF through the Caribbean National Mental Health Focal Points Network.
If they know someone who has mental illness, right, how can they reach out?
So let me just give a brief disclaimer that we are not mental health professionals and we don't offer therapy, counseling, etc. What we are happy to do, though, is if you reach out to us by sending us a DM on Instagram, on Facebook, or Twitter, which is at Let's Unpack It Co. That's Let's Unpack It CO. And you just tell us what's happening. We can help you in terms of pointing you towards resources that are based in your country. We can help recommend maybe a therapist or an organization that's on the ground in your country. We also have a region-wide resource which is available on bit.ly/reachoutcaribbean. That's bit.ly/reachoutcaribbean. Right there, you can find a bunch of mental health crisis hotlines that you can call 24/7, the majority of them, and the majority of them are also free. We definitely help to point you towards one of those resources. But I think more speaking to the issue of ridicule and judgment, I do want to highlight here that the responsibility is on us as individuals and as a whole of society, really, to kind of change that narrative that surrounds mental illness, mental health in general, and to create that kind of culture and language that makes it easier for people to reach out for help. Yeah. And so on the individual level, it means, hey, I know that stigma exists. I know that others are maybe not in favor of me reaching out, but let me do my part in terms of seeking help. while still also representing and helping to change that kind of narrative, right? And of course, I'd invite anyone listening to also share this resource with your friends, circulate it, save it on your phone. I have the crisis hotlines on my phone so that if anyone asks, I can share. And I think these steps we can take to help dismantle stigma, but also make it easier for people to feel comfortable to open up, speak up, and reach out for help.
Indeed. Let us talk about some of the projects that your organization would have completed or have in the pipeline.
Yeah, so really exciting for me as a founder to see how far we've grown within the last 3 years. Yes, and of course, I'll say that that's really due to the fact that we've had a very spirited team, and we've formed some really strong synergies with fellow civil society organizations and, of course, our government partners. You would imagine that given the COVID-19 pandemic having stretched over 2 and some years, that most of our efforts have been on the online environment. In fact, that's why we started in terms of the Instagram page. And so much of our work has been in the digital advocacy space. We've put on a number of panel discussions, and we've participated in a number of lives and podcasts and other panel discussions held by other organizations. We've also done a lot in terms of community outreach through hosting a variety of lectures and town halls. I think particularly in Barbados, we've done so much work in terms of working alongside youth groups and church groups as well, who are really interested in learning more about how they can participate in the mental health advocacy framework and really generating more action within their membership. Of course, we've also worked across the region doing similar initiatives in terms of boosting awareness and bringing that kind of mental health literacy to the basic level that we can have these kind of conversations readily. Our members have also been very active in attending some trainings, as well as attending some of the high-level meetings. So right now, the high-level meeting of the WHO and SIDS on mental health and NCDs is taking place in Barbados, and our Vice President of Operations is leading the charge there in terms of representing our organization and making sure that the Caribbean youth voice is heard. And also one of the initiatives that we're very proud of is our Helping Hearts initiative that is right now only in Grenada. We see some of our members going to the children's home, their Bel-Air's children's home, and to teach the young people there about mental health and wellness, and to remind them that, yes, they are still a part of our society. We do care about them. Their mental health still matters. And the last initiative we did there was to actually start a journaling scheme where we provided them the tools and the skills that they need to, go through that process of saying, hey, how do I feel right now? What can I do to feel better? How do my emotions kind of formulate or form a part of my overall mental wellness? But of course, we've also done a lot in terms of getting on the ground now that COVID is over. One of our flagship initiatives is what we call Let's Unpack It, or LUI on the street, where we essentially do a vox populi kind of situation where we go and we talk with average people on the road. What do they think about some of these mental health concepts? And of course, we provide them with some educational resources as well. But we really want to build out our organization over the coming months and coming years. And we see this as really, again, the hub of ideas and an organization leading the charge on youth-led, youth-focused mental health advocacy, and ensuring that every Caribbean young person can realize mental health, mental wellness, and their right to access to the highest quality of mental health services as well.
How can one join? Because listening to you, I'm ready to join this movement. So how can we join the Unpack It movement?
So great. So we've built that into our Instagram. So if you shoot us a DM on Instagram with the word support, then we'll send you a quick message responding with 3 key ways that you can participate. So let me just go through those 3 core ways, and I'll tell you about some other initiatives that are due to come on stream soon. So number 1 is the fact that, we need as much support as we can get in the form of volunteers. So of course, anybody can volunteer. Of course, being a youth-led youth-focused organization. We're definitely encouraging those who are between the ages of 15 and 34 to get on board. But that is not to say that those who are beyond that age limit cannot participate, right? The second thing is that we have a blog, which is available on our website, letsunpackitco.com. And we really want to share more stories from across the region. If you have ideas about recommendations that you'd like to see implemented, if you have, experience in terms of working in the mental health field or particular skills in that field as well, we'd love for you to come and join us in terms of writing a blog or contributing towards our blog. And the third way that we're encouraging young people to participate is in an initiative we call Care to Share, in which you can anonymously or publicly share your own mental health story. Again, this is through our website. It's available through letsunpackitco.com/lived experiences. Mm-hmm. And here you can just fill in a short form that will then be translated into a blog post where you can share your own struggle with mental illness. And what we're really doing here is trying to build as much hope as possible to remind people that they're not alone, they're not struggling alone. And so, of course, we want to normalize opening up and talking about our mental health challenges, so to prevent loneliness and build that level of hope, and of course prevent the adverse outcomes as severe as death by suicide. Right. Of course, as we build out over the next couple of months, there will be a number of opportunities to join our leadership team, to join our technical team in terms of design and content creation, resource publication, etc. So everyone can stay tuned via social media. But I do invite everyone to connect with us on LinkedIn, on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter as well at Let's Unpack It CO.
Good stuff.
Wonderful, wonderful. And David, time really flies when we're having meaningful discussions. We definitely need others like you out there in our society. But as we go, any words of encouragement for persons who, our viewing audience actually, and those who are viewing that are struggling with mental illness? Any words of encouragement just before we go?
Yeah, for sure. I just want to remind you that you are not alone and that help is really only one call and one click away. And I understand that that's a big step, and at times seeking out help can seem very daunting. But I want to remind you that in a moment of crisis, in a moment of struggle, reaching out can be the bravest thing that you can do for yourself, and getting help is really a sign of strength. Yes. I think those are the few words that I want to leave with everyone who's watching. And I just really want to thank you for this opportunity to share.